episode of Respect My Royalty. I know from the early episodes, I told y'all that, we created this space to be able to educate independent artists, and help them to understand the music business and just, people with a brand, understanding the business and growing that, you know what I'm saying? And so I wanted to highlight in a lot of these first episodes, I wanted to highlight, the people behind the scenes that are, working what we're working. So I have a very important person sitting here with me today. You know what I'm saying? This is, one of our partners, Rodney Khan.
How y'all doing?
Yeah.
Nice to meet y'all.
So he's one of the partners here at Royalty and Respect, one of the founding members of this company. And this is my homeboy, Ace Bukun, you know what I'm saying, my brother. So I'm going to tell y'all a little about him because he's a little shy. He's been in the background, but he's going to be coming to the forefront, and he has a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, especially with his experiences in the music industry. He's been in the music industry for a very long time. He's actually done some really, really great things. Like, I was just showing Najee yesterday. We were going through some credits and stuff like that. You going, some platinum records, and you go online and pull up Rodney Khan, and we have these records with your name and credit to all these platinum records and artists and stuff like that. A lot of people don't know that. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And a lot of people don't know your background in music and where you came from in terms of like singing and gospel, starting with your background and, with your dad. I know he was influential in, your upbringing and how you came up and whatever. So we kind of want to start from the beginning. I know you're pretty connected. I know you know a lot of people in the industry currently. You've worked in the industry for a very long time. And that's how me and you got really close. We, worked mutually. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that. So just starting off, just tell them a little about your upbringing. Like, how did you first start off, like your background? Where exactly you from? I know you're from South Florida. Where exactly?
I'm from South Florida, but I'm from Jacksonville, Florida originally.
All right.
I moved to Miami some years ago. My father's was a bishop at the time. We moved down here, got some reassignments down here in the ministry. And I started working down here and just doing music, working with people like Mark Cooper, people like A.V. Jones, gospel gurus around here. And just from that, just getting in Miami. Miami's a real speed city. Getting down here as a young boy, talented, end up finding out that, I was able to find another space with my craft and started doing some R&B music with Trick Daddy and started doing some stuff with Trina, did some stuff with Jackie O. When Ross started coming around, me and Ross was working together, tag teaming on Jackie O's first project. Worked on almost everything. Ross worked on everything he's done for the last couple of years or whatever. But then we ran into Flo Rida, and Flo started growing as a kid, and we was working around there with him with Po' Boy, and just been around the system, man. Miami just been a real influence to my musical craft. But there's a lot going on in this music world that we wanted to bring to a head, so other people can start making sure that they're not making the mistakes and dotting the I's and crossing the T's to become the success that they see in themselves.
Good. Now, exactly. And so, like, just like how you talking about, like, you coming up from Jacksonville and then moving to Miami. Jacksonville, I guess back then is a little bit slower. You come
much slower.
Right, back then. And you were kind of like, what, more in like the country part?
Yes,
of like
Jacksonville. Like, I was on, like, Orange Park. It's kind of country.
Yeah, back then in that time. And then coming up here in Miami, you were like, what, like, you were like mid-teens or a little bit younger?
I was about 9.
Oh, so you were like a kid.
Years old. I don't even know anything about Jacksonville. I'm a Jacksonville. I was born in Jacksonville, but I was raised in Miami. So
right here, like,
I only really know Miami, so.
You went to high school?
High school, elementary school, high school, everything.
What high school you went to here?
Miami Carriage City High School.
Okay, so
Chiefs.
You a chief. And so back then, who were the musical influences? I know Luke was probably popular back then. You had like Poison Clan.
Luke, Poison Clan, JT Money, you had a company called DDS Records that was doing something that's kind of really how I really got into the R&B world. A guy named Donnell Box. He
Okay.
was working on a port, and he started just a little R&B label, and kind of what catapulted Slip and Slide, kind of how Slip and Slide kind of started. That's another segment, but
Okay.
it's a lot. But yeah, DDS Donnell Box, God bless him. He's passed away now, but that's how I started. I started singing with this group called Lexus. He brought me in there to come in there to just do some background vocals, heard my voice, and before you know it, I was the leader of the group. Started traveling around different places with that group, with this guy named Ralph. Used to be a big, promoter and all that kind of stuff, and was moving around with him, and I ended up running into a guy named Worm. He used to play drums for us, and Worm heard my voice, and he was like, "Man, you bigger than Miami. You need to go do some other stuff." I play for this group named Blackstreet. You ever heard of them? And I was like, Blackstreet. I was like, "Nah, I ain't never heard no Blackstreet." I was like, "I'm telling you, I was straight country, y'all." I got out here, I started getting some money, moving, doing some stuff with, my vocals. That's it. I didn't really know, and started asking me about Blackstreet. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll try it. I mean, I'm out here with them. I'm kind of committed, but
Right.
I'll try out for it if it's open."
And
He was
for
like,
people that don't know, that's watching, that don't know Blackstreet, go and look it up. I know y'all know Teddy Riley, and I think he was like the lead
yeah,
dude
he
from
was
the
the
group.
big guru producer at the time.
Right, and Blackstreet was a big group. They had a lot of big records. I know the main one that I know I really like was
Dave Hollister.
yeah, those guys, they were all a part of it, and so y'all go and look that up. So y'all looking at like a little piece of history as he's coming up. Y'all hearing it come out. So you were involved with Blackstreet. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I started doing some stuff with Blackstreet and went over to Trinidad, had a great experience, and I was over there for some months. Came back over here, couldn't work out things because I had prematurely signed some contracts with the guy who I mentioned before, named Donnell Box, who I didn't kind of think that it was even that serious because,
You
like I
didn't have
said,
the right legal
right,
representation.
didn't have the right legal representation, didn't have the right knowledge of the game. So I ended up working with them, help record majority of that particular album, and just couldn't do it, and had to make some hard decisions. Came back home from Virginia, and started working around here with this guy named E Class.
See, now we coming into it. Now we coming into it. So you started working, and I'm sure everybody here know E-Class in South Florida. He's highly respected. He's one of the foundational pieces when it comes to music here in South Florida. He's done so much, and I know he's famously known now with the restaurants and finger
Finger
licking,
licking,
and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But before the music scene here, and I know that's another segment too, kind of coming up from the Po' Boy days because I know you was around working
Right.
and that. But then you met E-Class, and that kind of also changed a little bit of
When I
the
met E Class,
trajectory.
E Class kind of gave me a safe net to understand that I was going to be able to be looked out for, to make sure that what I'm doing as far as my music, he was going to be able to help me doctor it into the next level. So I started working on a project with him called Power of Dollars, with a guy named P.O.D. God bless him as well. Um, we worked on that album, did a couple of songs with him. Then you had a guy named um, Cognito. Cognito came out. After we pushed Cognito for a little while, things still wasn't going. Eric was still trying to find the gist. Didn't really understand how to even do what I needed to be done for me, because we were trying to start a company and trying to believe in the artists that we had around us. So we started understanding that we needed bigger music. So we started making bigger music. Started dealing with Jackie O. We came up with the song called Nookie. Once we came up with Nookie, Nookie led to Ross coming aboard, helping with, dealing with Eric and helping with Jackie, and then counterpointing his project. Along with that, Ross started doing everything that he was doing, and then we had Briscoe doing what he was doing.
Right.
And then we had this little guy sitting in his car every day named Flo Rida that was just determined to not to be shut out of the studio. and that he wanted to make a difference with his music, and we can do it from Miami. And we were just against it at first, but we all started listening. And when we started listening, we started understanding that he was a diamond kid. And we started understanding that it could be bigger than what we thought it was.
Right.
And some great records came out. Brought a friend of ours, a mutual friend named Brayon, brought him in, Brayon Isaac. We brought him around, and Brayon started getting around, and he was trying to find his identity in the game and the such. But he started being able to do some things with flow, because on our part, you know, just watching him just develop, and it was just amazing to see that happen. And even to remember, just think back in my mind now to how that all came about with Brayon is just like, it was incredible. We all had something to do with that. I end up kind of putting myself, because of my talent and my love for people and love for the music game, I started understanding that before the music, it becomes a business. It's a business first.
Right.
So that's my whole gist of royalty respect is about educating.
Right.
To get people to understand that if you understand how to make your money, it's fun.
Right. Right. Because you could do it as a hobby and not, you know, make nothing. But if you don't see it as a business, you'll never really transition to that next level. Something that you said I wanted to touch on. So you called a couple of key names. You know, there's some names we just can't even skip over. Jackie O, famously known here, and you know, in the South. Ross, Trina, Flo Rida, Trick Daddy, E-Class. These are all some big names. The one thing that you've witnessed, and I mean, just even yourself and the things that you've been able to do, and I know you've had a deal yourself. You know what that feels like to have a record deal, to be in that system. And I know you did some work with Jazzy Faye and stuff. Like when I met him a while back and I reconnected, when I called your name, he was just like, "What, Rod?" He was just like real excited. So you've seen a record label like Poor Boy. You've seen E-Class deal with it. And then also, I know we'll talk about, you know, Freezy, just seeing them deal with independent artists and that independent grind and that independent hustle. And seeing them take independent artists and then the independent artists that they have taken end up becoming major successes and major artists. The grind associated with it, you know that it's not an overnight success story.
No, not at all.
And
Old Boy started off, man, it was a time that we used to come down to the beach for, I think it was Memorial Weekend.
Memorial Weekend, yeah.
That was our imprint. Every Memorial Weekend, we made sure that we did something that stood out. And so E-Class used to be like, man, I'm going to tell you something. I don't need nobody saying that they need to be busy doing something right now, these days. Everybody's working towards making sure that we are seen. But we ain't have no music.
Right.
We were just starting out, and he wanted us to hold signs and walk down South Beach, what we did.
And that was maybe about 20 years ago, 15?
Yeah, about 20 years ago.
And so guerrilla marketing back then, because we didn't have the internet back then.
Right, we had no internet. We had nothing but word of mouth or visual. You had to get in front of the people. You had to get to the city where it's happening at, put your posters up, do stuff like that. Get in front of the door where you see the big guys coming in, hold the signs in front of them. Try to get some acknowledgement to find out, let them see that we got a little something going on down here.
Because it was exposure.
It was exposure. That's what it was about.
And you guys realized that exposing your brand was the best way of getting people to pay attention to your brand.
Yeah, because, and I'm going to tell a story real quick. It was how that all Po' Boy even happened. We were on South Beach one day holding the signs up, just grinding it out, getting through off the beach because the police didn't want us out there with the signs and stuff. But we were persistent. We kept on doing it. And one day, this guy pulled up on us. We seen this big Rolls Royce, and he pulled up on us in his car. And he like, hey, what are you guys doing? And we were like, we're promoting. What are you promoting? We're promoting our label, our record label. Well, where your record label? What kind of music? Let me hear your music. Well, we only had, at the time, POD, and we had just started working on Jackie O. And we had the song, Nookie. And we allowed him to hear it. He told us to meet him at this place called Big Pink. So we met him at Big Pink. and his name was Cecil. We met him over there, sat down with him. He looked at us and seen us with all our T-shirts on, and some of us are sweaty. And he was like, "Man, you guys, I see you guys all the time out here. Seen you guys weeks ago, and I wanted to find out what you guys were doing. I want to hear this music, and I want you guys to keep in contact with me." We kept in contact with him. We let him hear the music. A couple of days later, he called us. He was like, he wanted to have a meeting with Eric, and he wanted to sit down and talk to him about Jackie and investing in Po' Boy. And that's how it all started. That's how the initial grind of Po' Boy, all of it started to counterpult, is because he walked into the situation and he seen that we had a bigger vision.
He has seen that you guys, that E-Class had created value with the brand.
Right.
So everything that y'all did for exposure, E-Class was bankrolling it himself because he believed in the brand that y'all have. So, because getting all those signs and doing all that stuff and having all the people, that's expensive.
Yeah, because we used to be out there, like, we used to be back at home promoting, back in Miami, and we're promoting, and everybody needs something to eat. And E-Class will go get some chicken and put it out there, and we have to eat it, and we'll eat it, and we'll look at each other and say, "Man, let's go. And we're going to grind some more."
Right.
And we used to keep grinding. So our partying turned into us putting into our lives and just to get some recognition.
Right. So for the level of exposure that you guys needed, it took the value of the brand, creating value, going out there, pushing, getting people to see, to get noticed, and then having somebody, because somebody has to spend the money. Yeah. And although E-Class was spending the money to get to that level, to put gas in the car to get here, somebody else saw you because you got to this point and say, "Okay, I got some more gas money. We gonna get some more cars so we could go further down the road."
That's exactly what happened.
And so with Cecil, and this is another big name that we mentioned in here. These are all people that have played factors in your journey and, understanding, you're coming into the music industry. And for people that don't know Cecil, Sobe Entertainment. Sobe Entertainment. And he's done a lot, and a lot of people down here know him. And having that relationship intertwined with the Po' Boy situation helped boost the vision a little bit more.
Exactly.
And then, like you said, with the Jackie O movement, that being able to blow up like it did on a national level.
Yeah.
But it started off with the grind, with the hustle. Right. And knowing that we could have these artists, we could have these records, but if nobody know they there, it don't mean nothing. Yeah. And the push for exposure opened the door for the right person to see you at the right time to open another door. And that wasn't the door, but it was a door.
It was a door.
Exactly.
That's what started the whole thing for her to even get to signing to Empire.
Right.
Was it Empire? No,
it was
TVT.
TVT back then, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was
TVT back then. That's what it was. That's what happened. And then we did the Yin Yang Twins, and I seen all that, and it was just a lot going on. But in that all going on, the business still wasn't solid for me to understand that we have to make sure that we know how to make sure the bank understands our address.
Right, exactly. Yes. Because you didn't look at it as a business back then, because it was just your dream. And you always wanted to be an artist. So now these things are happening so fast, and you're not calculating in your mind like, this could actually be something that I could do for a living. You're saying I could live my dream, but you didn't wake up to live it at that point. Right. And it took you a while getting in it, because all I want to get a record deal. You got a record deal. Right. And sometimes we look at a record deal as the end all, cure all. And we both know, because we've been through it. We've had artists that have signed deals. We've gotten artists signed to deals. We've worked for companies that sign artists, and we know that the misconception of an independent artist thinking once I get signed, everything's gonna be good.
Right.
That's where the work really starts.
That's where it starts at.
Exactly.
And as soon as you sign that line right there, you got some receivables that you got to be turning. You need to be making sure that
you have a responsibility.
You got some responsibility. So the grind just starts. That's the beginning. It's like the beginning of your marriage. And you got to go.
Listen, and I know you could attest to this, and I wanted something else you touched on. I want us to get to because the whole Breon situation. And shout out to Breon and the 30s and Dre and TJ and everybody over there.
I love
you know what I'm saying? But being over there at Po' Boy, and I know Strong Arm and IMG came a little bit later after Florida got successful and Freezy, those were doing their thing. And I know just being a part of that and seeing the package they put together for independent artists. And I feel like a lot of that is missing from the game because just me being able to, be in that environment and, be over there and see it's like a boot camp, like a independent artist boot camp.
Yeah. We had one room. We had the duplicators for the CDs back in the days. We had people that we knew. You ain't a sign holder, but you gonna make sure you go in there and you stay overnight and you do all the copy duplicating the CDs. Actually, what I'm trying to tell you guys is that we gotta put in your work. You gotta put your hands in it, and you gotta go. I mean, you had artists. You had Jackie O in there at times, even pushing her sleeves and her CDs to make sure that people was getting it packaged the right way.
And she had a record out.
And she had a record,
and she was still grinding.
She had a record at the time, and we were in there together packing CDs. I seen Ross do it. I've seen Cool and Dre. I've seen a bunch of people like they grind it out. It just didn't happen overnight. Some of them are still grinding it out.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Because a lot of the younger artists and independent artists, I know the internet has changed a lot of things, and those nuances are good for the music industry, but also it comes with some misconceptions that end up having their perception a little bit off. And, so some of the younger artists today, they just feel like I'm just going to put out my music and somebody needs to come and pay me because I have music out and I'm talented. And someone needs to just come and give me a record deal. And they're not really, because, back then it was harder. You couldn't get your record just distributed in stores back then.
No.
Even if you had the money back then, you had to have the connection. There were gatekeepers that you had to get a deal to get a distribution deal for your records to be in stores. Yeah. So even if you had a record on the radio, you were still on the, like Master P, selling it out the back of your trunk kind of vibe until you got an official, real deal. Now you have platforms that can put your song and send your song to every digital store around the world that anyone has access to it. But what that has created is made artists feel like, well, I done did my job. It's in every store. Now, who's gonna help? Somebody else gotta come to the table and make people buy it, or they gotta invest. And they don't see it as, no, you have an extra step to take in terms of, because it really is the same thing as you guys being out on the beach with your signs and everything saying, we want exposure. Look at us. This is what we're doing. It's the same thing as going out now, putting your song on those digital platforms and marketing them and saying, hey, this is who I am. Y'all need to hear my music. And that comes with a cost.
Yeah.
None of this is free.
No. It was free when we thought it was walking down the street holding those signs. It wasn't free because we started at the end of the night. We understood that it wasn't free. Our body paid
your body paid the price.
Yeah, we paid the price.
Not only that, you had to pay to make up the signs.
Yeah, and we had to pay to make. And I think those signs at the time. Shout out to GM Print. GM Print is a company that kind of got started right along with the music industry in Miami. Because he started understanding that they needed guerrilla marketing and they needed someone to print. So he started printing, and a business started out of it. All I'm trying to say is that business had to be first, and we have to grind it out to get to the business. Like you're not just gonna get at these tables or talk to these people just by thinking that I've did the song tonight and tomorrow I put it out there and I got on this little stream here and everything's gonna change tomorrow. It's sadly mistaken. A lot of people gonna tell you that it's not that way. You gotta get at it.
No, you gotta continue to go for it. And so just coming up, we're gonna kind of bring it up a little bit. So your experiences with when you first started to record those songs and you got in on records with Ross and stuff, because back then at that point he wasn't the Rick Ross we know now. He wasn't famous at that time. He was just grinding, kind of getting there. So you were recording those records not even knowing if they would even go anywhere.
Right. Yeah. We had recorded plenty of records.
Right. So in your mindset, you had already worked with Jackie O, and she was already out there, and so it's like Ross was just coming into his own. He had already done some stuff, but he wasn't like famously known. So it's like you jumping on those records, you were just having a chance for your talent to be out there, not knowing that. So when the business was done, you didn't really look at the business part of it, like
No.
right. You were just kind of excited.
I'm on the record.
Right, I'm on the record, and you know,
and he working for real, and he continuing to work, and he's not gonna stop, and that's what I was excited about.
Right.
So, you know, in that, I thank God that Ross did continue to work. Thank you very much, Ross. You know, I appreciate you. Playback music. Appreciate you very much. You know.
right.
But you know, that's the game. You got to continue working. If you talk to him, if you was to sit across from Ross today, he would sit there and would look at you and tell you that he would work every day. Every day, Ross rode the streets of Miami. He was working in his mind, creating who he was going to present.
And just in your viewpoint and your experiences, all the artists, and I mean, you know, a lot of these artists before they became famous, you've met a lot of them, and then see them blow up after that. And I mean, you've worked with a lot of artists that also, I mean, I know when I first came over to Strong Arm, Natalie, which is Natalie DeRose, that we know before she had the big hit record and everything like that. Originally, when, you know, I first came around, I know you were there before, so you know when she first came in and she was just more dancing and doing stuff like that.
She was a dancer.
Right. And you watched her whole progression. You watched the plan that Flo and Freezy had, and you were, you know, a part of just working and, you know, making things happen and just in the background. And shout out to Mathis and everybody there that, you know, that's been a part of that and, you know, that movement. But
Mathis.
You seeing them just come from nothing and blow up and then have a big record and selling platinum records and stuff like that is like, how does that feel to you, seeing that you know the way? And I notice about you, I'm not gonna say a lot about it, but I know you have other people, you have relatives that do music and, you know, people know, but you've been through it, you've experienced it.
Yeah.
And it's like, they think they know better than you, but it's like you done been there, you've done that, you've seen it, and you just chill. And I know you, Rod, you kind of chill back and say, all right, dude, y'all go do. You kind of stay quiet about it.
Because you got to let people learn. Because sometimes in this game, if you don't hear it the first time and take heed to it, 9 out of 10, you're gonna continue you're gonna knock your head down, and you're gonna come right back to what we talked about when you walked away from it. Because it is what it is. What you put in this is what you're gonna get out of it.
Right.
If you don't put nothing in, if your pen ain't right, and you're not penning anything, how can you possibly be a part of the record other than just being a voice on the record? You have to learn the business of this game. Get in there. People should just be jumping on records with people, bro. That's what I did. Yeah. And it blessed me. It's just work. It's just it's like a resume. Right. I'm throwing all kind of resumes out there, and I'm leaving them for you to just look over them when you're ready to look over them or listen to them. Right. You know what I'm saying? So,
but if you knew then what you know now, of course, if you knew then what you know now, you would have definitely done it differently.
Of course.
Right. You would have definitely done it differently. Because I know when we first got together, when we started this company, and I know, like I said, when I said in another episode, myself, Stephen Greenslade, Santi, you know, we all got together. But first, it was just me and you kind of talking about this kind of stuff and wanting to kind of, hey, like, kind of have a company. First, we just think about managing artists, and kind of like we wanted to educate them and kind of like
that's what it all came from.
Information for the business and stuff like that. And then we kind of started the transition because we saw a trend like, yo, like the music industry is going in a different direction.
Yeah, it is.
You know, opening the door for independent artists. Because I know when we first started, we just had the issue of like so much people coming to us like, oh, look at this artist, look at this artist. Oh, could y'all help this person? And we just like, but we can't help everybody because this is an expensive ordeal. So we were just like, man, if we could kind of like, if you have the vision for what you want to do, we have the way, the path, the know-how, and if you're willing to invest in yourself, we can help and we can partner and get you there. And that was like kind of the basis of where we kind of came in. And I know when Steven came in, it's like his goal has always been to build younger people and build an infrastructure. Steven just love business.
Right.
He love to
He's
grow.
a business
Right,
guru.
entrepreneur, right?
What he
You
loves.
understand? So his mindset, if it was something to build, the future generation, and he wanted to be a part of it. He wanted us to grow it, and like Santi, with his knowledge of just the thing that you were lacking back then was the paperwork and understanding
Right.
it, and Santi coming in with that knowledge of that business, and us just having the know-how, being in the music industry for years on different planes at different times or whatever, and then on the same plane at a couple of times, just talking about understanding talent, seeing what it is, and knowing how to put that talent in a position to grow. Just to talk about him, Breon Isaacs is one of the most talented writers and producers that I think that I've ever personally known. And I want to shout out Dre, because Dre is the reason that I know Breon, and Dre has been a solid dude from the first day that I've ever met him. It's kind of like bro level to me, you know what I'm saying? And so he first introduced me to Breon, just doing, writing and producing. And Breon is an amazing artist, and I know you know that. Right. And
He's humble.
Right.
It's incredible.
And I know you and then Otis also, you guys had also known Breon just, differently. Y'all had known him outside of, me even knowing him from whatever other circle that y'all had known. And from what I understand, I know before he came to Strong Arm with me, he had come there before with you and Otis, and he had been there before and played some records and done some things or whatever like that. And this is a kind of like a testament to that, don't give up.
Right.
Like,
he wouldn't.
A door was closed, and it was the same building that was closed to him. Yeah. And a year later, me not even knowing that he was ever there before, came down. Like I said, when Dre introduced me, and I, got to know Breon, is such a solid dude, and I just felt like he was so talented. When I got the opportunity to work down there where you guys were Flo and everybody, I felt like, man, I want to, And I know I told Breon, I was like, if I ever got an opportunity to do anything big, I'm gonna come back and look for you. Right. And I know he remembers this. And when that door had opened, we went down there, and then he just kept working, kept grinding, and things, worked for him. But to see somebody that was a great talent, Breon had done a lot of work even before. He had done enough work to where he could have gave up and said, like, I've been doing this music thing for a long time. It hasn't really worked out for me. Breon has been doing music.
I've seen him at the point where he was like, man, listen, I can't do it. This wall is just talking to me. I mean, I'm just gonna, and he just continued to drive, man. He just continued to push himself, painting pictures in his mind, and he wouldn't stop.
But look at where he was then and where he is today. And I'll tell y'all, go look him up. Breon Isaacs, go follow him on Instagram and go look him up. I can't say all the records that he's written and all the stuff, but I'm telling you, it's like when you go and look it up. I know I seen him he posted something on his Instagram one day and saying how much, it's like over 1 billion streams from the songs he's written, all that kind of crazy stuff. And this is somebody that we've known from kind of like, ground level, and the team that's been around and is still there, same people, Dre and everybody, they've worked together to get to where they are today. But he's a testament of not giving up and no overnight, success. And so that's somebody that we know personally that has grown to that level. I have a ton of people that I know has, come from nothing. We've seen them start their careers, especially in gospel music, where, I've started and working and building, my brand from there, and artists that we started off with nothing, and they're able to make a living and make a name for themselves. It was never overnight. No. And it was never for free. They had to continue to push. And I tell people this, what's the key to an artist either making it or being signed or whatever? Because being signed is kind of like the start of it, but we do understand it's kind of like the idea of us saying an athlete making it in professional sports to NFL or the NBA, to the NFL or the NBA. That it's a big deal,
right? Because
you've said that, wow, there's not a lot of people that's kind of made it here, but when you get there, there's a lot of work or a lot more work. Ex-NFL and NBA players will tell you the same, or professional sports will tell you the same. When they get in, there's like, now you really got
to put the work in.
Right. So it's the same thing with when you get a deal, this is where the work starts. You actually have to listen more, and you realize you know a little bit less than you think you knew before you even got there.
But there's something funny that you said that was kind of keen, that you said they had to get there. When they got there, it cost them to get there though.
Exactly.
They invested in their lives to have the strongest legs, have the fastest
Now you
reaction.
talking. Now you're talking.
Had the fastest reaction. They invested in themselves and they kept believing, even after being probably scouted over a couple of times. You know, undrafted. You know, they kept believing and kept putting themselves.
So what you trying to tell me, Rod, is that an athlete that makes the NFL or the NBA, it just didn't start where they just made it. You're saying that the years of them training and the expense of their parents sacrificing and the gas money for the practices and the money for the trips and all the training and stuff like that, all of that is an investment towards a future that when they get to that pro league, the money that they're making is really a return on the investment, and that's like almost like a 15-year investment before they get to where they got to go, right?
Yeah.
So, in the music industry, why do we think it's different? Somebody will work and do music for like 3 or 4 years and says, "Oh, I've been doing this so long and I ain't seen no results." Is it because of the microwave society that we have right now, the Instagram and the illusion and the social media, that's the illusion that it creates to make people think it's something instant?
Right.
That success could be manufactured instantly.
It's just what you said, the microwave effect. It's overnight. It looks like it's overnight because of how they make it look on social media and all this kind of stuff. But it's a lot of work going into those people that's even showing you
making it look like it's overnight.
Yeah, that's making it look like it's overnight. They're putting in work.
Right, because it's more advantageous to me if I make it look like I could do this effortlessly. Right. If I can make it look easy. But if you don't know that I wake up early in the morning and then I gotta go through 3, 4, 5 different progressions, setting up my day, doing what I'm doing to win and kind of, have the different things working for me to work for me. But if I just jump up and show you the highlight of all the rewards that come with it, you're going to think I'm just that much greater of a person.
Right.
You understand?
I wish I can be just like him.
Exactly. So, but we don't show people that there is a real process that goes along to this. And what we've done with this company, and it's like, there's ups and downs. Like you're going to invest some money and then not get the results that you want. But the thing to it, it's consistency. You got to keep going with it. And if that don't work, you got to try something else. You got to try the next thing at the end of the day, because it's not always going to be like the one thing that's going to work. Sometimes you're going to have you're going to fail a little bit. And more times you're going to fail a lot to get to the thing that you're going to really be great at. You understand what I'm saying? So just going through that, going through the pitfalls that you've went through, what has been you feel like it's been your most disappointing time as an artist? Like what?
Oh, there's many of them, but the biggest one, there was a record, and I'm gonna talk about this record because it's the biggest record in all of our careers that I'm going to mention. Flo Rida, T-Pain, myself. That record, Low, came about. It was a record before that was written for, I think T-Pain had did something with Juvenile.
Okay.
And they let Flo hear the record, and they wanted to make the record a little more sprucey. They took Juvenile off of it, and they kept T-Pain on it. And Flo killed it. Went home and went in his book. He went to work. Came back the next day, it was a smash.
Right.
We started, we were all happy. Everybody, we had a record. We got a record. And it's T-Pain, and T-Pain was the hardest in the city. The hardest at the time, And we heard that record, and we got ready to push that record on to the next level. And T-Pain, people said that he wasn't gonna clear the record for Flo to be able to be a new artist at the time with that record. He's like, he had too many records at the time, saturated out there at the time. He just couldn't do it.
Right.
So we was almost back to square one again. Mm-hmm. But we went in our closet and went in our little thinking cap, and E-Class came out and said, "Hey, Rodney, I need you to do this. I need you to do this hook." I said, "What hook?" that hook he's singing right there, you can do that, right? I said, yeah, I can do it. I could do whatever I want to do with my voice. I could do it. I said, let's go in there and do it right now. So me and J Rock, producer, we went in there, messed around with it, and we let Mike Karen hear it. After we heard it, after we did it, we let Freezy hear it first, and Freezy was like, man, who was that? That's the same record. We let Freezy hear it, and after he let Freezy hear it, Freezy was like, I'm calling Mike right now. He let Mike hear the record, and Mike was like, hell, we're going with this one. Right now. This is the one. This sounds no. He said, but I know it's Rodney. That's Rodney. And the record came out. They Atlantic got a whiff of it, and they put the record out with Flo Rida and Rodney, featuring Rodney. I was so happy. I just knew.
This is your shining moment.
This was it.
Yeah.
I just knew it. I seen all the lights coming.
Yeah.
I seen all
You're
the
like,
money.
I'm here now.
I have made it. And it's not a nasty song.
Right.
It just say, get low. It's a dance song.
This
is fun.
Right.
I thought it was until I started listening to Flo's lyrics. But it came a couple weeks went by. I started hearing it on the radio. My voice was on it. And I started even getting more happier now.
More excited.
Well, I'm on a nice record. This is a nice record.
Y'all don't play with me now. I'm here.
So Atlantic decided that they wanted to shoot a video for the record. Once they started talking about shooting a video for the record, guess who came out of nowhere? T-Pain.
T-Pizzle, he came.
I want to do it. This is a good record. I did it. So what happens to little old Rodney? Little old Rodney got the car going, put the little gas in the car. Kick me off my record.
But so now you get to understand the power of the record labels and, them making an executive decision.
And I understood it later.
Right, because it makes sense.
I understood it later. You know, as selfish as I was being at the time, I understood it that it was a smart thing.
It was the right thing.
Right, it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do.
And now, although that record came out, became one of Flo's biggest records, and you got T-Pain on there, and of course that helped make the record as big as it could be. But you still get to be a part of that record. Yeah. And I feel like some songwriters is like they don't want to give away, or not that you wrote the song, but the fact that you was a part of it. Sometimes you could kind of throw a little hissy fit about it, not understanding that, hey, just even me being attached to this is even big for me, and that can help catapult me in another direction. And every opportunity is not even going to be written in dollars and cents.
Right.
Some doors unlock the next door.
A friend of ours told us one time. Remember Sal?
Yes.
Sal told us one time. He said, "Stop playing for the dollar."
Exactly.
Understand percentages and understand the business of the music and how intricate it is to be in different elements of it. So stop playing for the dollar. And I've never really played for the dollar, but it was real exciting to get, So the dollar at that point made me miss out on a lot of things that I should have just been stopping and just paying attention to, that could have really dotted all of my I's and crossed all of my T's.
Right.
So that even when they did what they did, would put me off the record, even though it kept me to be involved with the record, if I had knew a lot more, I probably could have even been a lot more attached to the record than what I am.
Right.
So I think that to educate yourself in the game every day, like reading, like what Monty does. I ain't talk about this guy. This guy is the reason why I really took the chance to say we can do this on our own without just having anybody else understand our vision. We can have our vision, because he would take books and I would see him walk out of the studio with books, and I would see him just reading the better music business, and he would just break down things to me, and I wouldn't take time to read those things. And that's kind of the same thing I was doing back in the days, but he would make me take time to read over things and look at things and understand how it works for real. So when we started sharing these ideas, it's like some of the ideas I had and some of the things that he was educating me on kind of made
Yeah.
a partnership, and a brotherhood, so that we understood that we're working for the same thing. But we just trying to get across to them really to understand that continue to sacrifice for yourself and invest in yourself, and it's not going to happen tomorrow. And if it doesn't happen tomorrow, it doesn't mean stop.
Exactly.
You got to keep going. Ross was writing for Trina and Trick, and he hated it, but he kept doing it. And then he got on a record with them, and they put him in this little jersey, a tight jersey. Remember that? I think it was a bird. It was like
Yeah, I remember. I know
it.
what video you talk about.
He hated it, but it's what started him to being seen.
Yeah.
To getting heard in a national point. You know what I'm saying? So I would tell anybody, man, like Ross is an example of just never giving up. Just keep going, and look at him now. A ranch. And all kind of stuff. You know, car shows.
You've seen also you've seen DJ Khaled kind of grow from where he was from the beginning to where he is now. You've seen that too. Just being like I say, being a player here in Miami.
Yeah, just watching.
Seen a lot of people that, have come up from nothing and kind of continue to push. And the one thing you could say, if you had to say it, that's consistent about all of these people that you've seen that has, come from obscurity and ended up becoming, big stars and stuff like that. Some of them you personally know, some of them you're just on the scene and you've seen their progression and you're associated. What would you say is the one thing they all have in common?
Never giving up.
Consistency.
All the way across the board.
Is the main thing. Because I know even Pitbull and those people, you've seen them come up.
Pitbull used to wear big shirts and stuff. And
hey, not even that, The Weeknd. Because Sal.
The Weeknd?
Yes, of course. I know you've seen with The Weeknd and what Sal has been able to do. And that's like seeing all of that. And all of that went into us understanding with this company and growing and pushing that consistency is just the key.
Right.
And it's never going to be overnight. And it's always finding the next thing that helps it to work and stuff like that. So using those experiences that you've had on your own journey as an artist, and you have the trophies, because in the music industry, these things are the trophies.
Yeah, they matter.
So, you know what I'm saying? And you having those trophies to prove, I've been in some championship teams, boy. Like I played, I was in the game.
I got a ring.
Yeah, I got a ring. You understand what I'm saying? Like you being able to, so you have some advice, you have some insight that you could give to younger artists that's trying to grow and trying to do their thing. And that's kind of like what we're trying to continue to grow here, helping people to understand, like, you got to invest. You got to deal with people to know the way. When they ask me, how do you think an artist can make it? I said, 1, consistency. 2, you got to find somebody that knows the way. And you got to have the investment. You got to spend the money. Somebody, because the record label is spending the money in the equation when it's not an independent artist. Somebody's spending the money because people think an artist gets signed and they just become famous. But the right of investment helps them to become famous even as the record label. When you don't have a record label and you are independent, you are the record label. So the money, when you say, I just want to stay independent, then you got to spend the money. That's your responsibility. Yeah, you are an executive. So you've got to make moves like an executive and make music like a star at the end of the day. And if you find people that know the way, that's going to make it a little bit easier for you. So in one of our other episodes, I talked about comparing that to somebody that you bought all the parts for your car. Right. But if you don't take it to a mechanic that knows how to fit them in and put them all together,
parts gonna sit right there.
Parts right there. They're gonna sit right there. Take it to somebody that know what they're doing. Yeah. Then we can get the car on the road. Get it going. You understand what I'm saying? So I know our producers are hitting us up and let us know we at that time. So before we wrap up, Rodney, I just would like to thank you for coming through, and I know you love to stay behind the scenes.
I gotta come more, man. I gotta come over here, man. I love just sharing with people, you know what I'm saying? So we got to do this a lot more, man.
Yeah, see, I know y'all, the way y'all get down. Y'all old school, so y'all like to invest in the company, invest y'all money. Y'all tell me, say, let me just sit back and let that thing happen. I don't need the, you understand what I'm saying? But you got to be more involved yourself, you know what I'm saying, Steven? Y'all got to come through a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? You can watch your investment grow, but you can be more involved.
You can continue to working.
Right. So, what would you say to independent artists that's out there that's gonna see this, that's watching this, like what would be your most important message that you think they need to get right now?
Continue being, make sure you are original. Don't follow what's going on. Be unique, be different. That's what they're looking for. Along with your originality, have your confidence up. Make sure your confidence is just as sure as your music. It all plays a part. And be attentive to business and continue to work and don't give up, because giving up is just like not finishing a record. If y'all get it, y'all artists, you kind of understand it. Like, it kind of make you feel bad when you don't finish a record. So you got to finish this task that you started out. You know what I'm saying?
100%. So that's going to be this episode of Respect My Royalty. I want y'all to like, follow, share. Y'all look at the information below. Y'all in y'all comments, if y'all have questions and stuff, we going to get back to y'all with the questions and everything like that to answer y'all questions, or maybe in another episode. But we thank y'all for tuning in, and y'all keep up with us, man. And like I said, business opportunities and stuff, all the information is going to be there. Y'all hit us up. All right, y'all take it easy. We out of here.
Bless.